What is index? Look at this list. It's a list of countries. If you are asked, for instance, to look for China on this list, that means you have to be searching from number 1, you look down until you find China. You can see it's difficult to find China here because I have to read everything line by line. Looking for China. You can see China is on line 206. I was reading it line by line. Very difficult. This is not indexed. When a file or something is not indexed, you have to search from beginning until you find that particular thing. Then assume that this is a country column in a table in my SQL, and you search for China in that column from that table. You see, it took us a long time to what? To find China. The same thing will happen to my SQL. My SQL has to search again and again, line by line, until it finds China. Now let me show you another list. This is another list. You are asked to find China. If you ask me to find China on this list, I know I will simply go to C. Look at it, China. If you ask me to find Afghanistan, I will simply go to what? To A. What I will do now, I will move this one to the left. I will also reduce this. This file on the left hand side is not indexed. The one on the right hand side is indexed. When you are doing data entry, this is a typical situation you will have. There's no indexing because you cannot be indexing manually. By merely entering a query, you can achieve this from this. Okay? If I ask you, for instance, to look for Saudi Arabia on this, what you will do, you will start from beginning, search for Saudi Arabia, Saudi, see, line 42. But you ask me to find it here, I will simply go to S, Saudi Arabia. You see, it is easier for me to find it here than here. The reason is because this one on the right hand side is indexed. This is not indexed. So when you ask MySQL to look for information in a table that is not indexed, it will take it a long time to give you what? The output. But if that table is indexed, MySQL will return the result quickly, unlike when it is not indexed. This is the advantage of what? Indexing. So what is index? Index simply means alphabetical listing of items and their location. What you should know is that you as a user or as a developer, you can't see what? Indices. All this we explain only takes place behind the scene. This is 1. 2. Once you apply index on a table, if you want to update such a table, it will take more time than a table without index. Hope this is understood. Thank you for viewing. How would you create index on a column or columns while creating a table? Let's see. The first thing we need to do, let's create a database. Let's call the name of this database people. Then we are going to use this people database. Now let's create a persons table. This is to create the table. Let me first of all run this. Then I want to create index on this last name and the first name. What am I going to do? If you want to create index while you are creating this table, simply say index, last name, the first name. Okay? You can do for one, you can do for many, but you have to put a comma here before this line. You can see we are creating index on this last name and first name because we want behind the scene MySQL to arrange them in alphabetical order. Although what you will see when you are entering the information might simply be in disorderly manner, but behind the scene, MySQL will use the bit tree to arrange them what? In alphabetical order. Now let me run this. Accepted. Okay, this is the way to go. Hope this is understood. Thank you for viewing. How would you create index on an existing column in a table? There is a table that has columns. Okay, But the issue now is that you have not created index on this particular column. How would you do it? So we're going to use the same table we used before, which is the persist table. If you want to do such a thing, and you agree with me that when we are doing this, we never put index on city. What we are going to do now is to put index on the city. So to do that, simply say create index, choose any name you want to give to the index. I will put city index on persist table, but I want you to put it on this column. It's for the city column. If I run this, see, completed. So there's an index on this city column now. What is primary or cluster index? A primary or cluster index. Let me explain that to you. Look at this. You are already used to this. I want to remove this. Let me make it simple. I will make this one 2. The next thing I want to do now, I want to make this speci ID the primary key. Say what? Speci ID. This is what you are used to. If you go ahead and implement this, you run this, something is going on behind the scene. Automatically, my SQL will create index for speci ID. Without asking my SQL to do it explicitly, it will create an index for what? For this speci ID, because you made it what? The primary key. This type is called what? The primary index or clustered index. Why is it like that? You agree with me that there is no information on this table here. What are we doing now? Let me leave here first. Let me go use Northwind database. I will say select all from, let's say, suppliers. Let's run this. Look at this. You agree with me that the supply ID is the primary key. But without even asking my SQL to put index on this supply ID, because you have made it the primary key, automatically there will be an index created for it, which is called what? The primary index or the clustered index. The reason is because if, for instance, while you were inserting all these IDs, assume you started with 4, then you put here 3, you put 7 here, you put 10 here, you put 9 here. On your own, you have freedom to do that as long as it's not what? Auto increment. Unless you choose auto increment, you will not have ability to do all this. You just put it the way you like. But remember that if, for instance, there is nothing like index on this, it means that this cannot be arranged what? In ascending order. And it is good that the primary key is always what? Arranged in ascending order, because that is the flow of what? Of the table. But because you type all these things by yourself, manually, and you did not select auto increment while you were creating that table for this primary key, and assume there is no index applied, it means that to retrieve information from this table will be very difficult. That is why by default, once you create a table with a primary key, because of the importance of index to retrieve information from a table, by default, the primary key will have what? Index applied to it. And such index is called what? Primary index or clustered index. This is very important. That is to say, behind the scene, all this will be arranged in ascending order, starting with 3, 4, 7, 9, then 10. I am referring to this. Assume this one was not here. Assume you type it manually by yourself. The index by default applied by my SQL on the primary key will help to do this. Although you enter first before you enter 3, before you enter 7, before you enter 9, before you enter 10. But behind the scene, this is what will happen. So that when it is retrieving information from table, it will be very fast and very easy. The joy of this type of index is that it is stored together with the data in the same table. Remember, we have index table, right? This index is stored together on the same table with this suppliers table. And one thing you must also note is that if it is not a primary index, okay, any other index, the one we created before, like the one we did for last name, first name, and for city, all these are called what? Secondary indices. Or you can also call them non-clustered indices. Hope this is understood. Thank you for viewing. What is unique key and what connection does it have with index? What connection does it have with index? Unique key is a single column or group of columns to ensure that the value that will be inserted into these columns are unique. That is, no similarity. What we are saying is that if I put 1 here, I put 2 here. If I put 4 here, I can't put 2 here. If 2 is here, 2 is here, automatically they are the same. There's no uniqueness in that. To enforce that, you use what? Unique key. Means any value that will be on this column, I can put 7 here, but I can't put 4 here. I can't put 2 here. I can't put 1 here. But it allows null anyway. It allows null, but only one null. Remember, unique key allows null. It allows null value, but it must be only one null value. That is to say, if I come here now, I can put 6 here. Please, I'm not arranging them in ascending order, just anyhow. But what I want you to know is the word unique. It should be unique. If I put null here now, it's not allowed, because if I put null here, null is here. There's no uniqueness anymore. Only one null. That is the work of what? Unique key. So what connection does it have with index? The connection is this. Once you apply unique key, without even telling MySQL to create index for that column, index will be applied to it. This is the connection. Remember primary. Once you say a column is a primary key, automatically, without even asking MySQL to apply index on that column, it will apply index on it by default. The same thing with unique key. That is the connection. Hope this is understood. Thank you for viewing. What is the difference between key and index? We've established few things. That when you want to create index, you can create it explicitly by using the keyword index. Also, if you ever use primary key, automatically index will be created on that column. Another one we look at is the unique key. Index will also be applied. But instead of using the word index, you can use this to create what? Index. By using key as part of your code, index will be created for that column. In summary, key is synonymous to index. So when you use it, it means that the index you are creating is not part of primary key or unique key. Before we drop this, what is actually the difference between these two? This allows null, but this does not allow null values. No null. Here allows null. That is the difference. But what you should know is that whenever you use the word key, it means that the index you want to create are not part of primary key or unique key. Okay? Now let me show you something. Let me go to non-tweet database because I know you already know it. I want to go straight to copy something for you to see. Look at this. As you can see in this place, which index will exist on this table? On what column? Let's look at it. Let's trace it. We go down. Number 1 is this place. There will be index on this column, customer ID, by merely using primary key. With the word key alone, index will appear automatically. And by using this word key, you are already creating index. And what we are trying to say is that the index that are created on these columns, they are not part of the unique key or the primary key. Okay? You need to know this. And one thing you must know is that assume you finished creating your database and you created your table and you use exactly this query to create this customers table. Then you come back again. You want to create index on this city column or on this postal code column. That is duplicate. It is not allowed. If it was allowed before, it has been depreciated. Please note that it is not allowed to create duplicate index on the same column. This information I share with you is very important. Hope this is understood. Thank you for viewing. How do you check for indices in a table? To check for indices in a table, you first of all select the database where that table exists. Then you apply this show index from the name of the table. Let's say, for instance, orders table for this. Now let's see. If I enter, look at what it's telling us. A lot of information. The table, the table name, non-unique, 0, and these are the names of the index. See, primary index. All these other one are what? The secondary or the non-clustered. But what I want you to see or want to know is where all these applied. The only way you will appreciate this is to go back and fetch the query that was used to create this table. Let's go for that. I'm going to come down here. Let me go and get it. Then I will come back. This was the query that was used to create this orders table. But our focus will be here because we are dealing with index. You agree with me? There's a primary. You can see index is applied. See the word key on orders date, ship postal code, all of them. Because of this word key, they all have what? Index applied to them. And you can see the column's name, exactly all these ones. Orders, see? Same. Customer ID, employee, shiver. And one more thing I want to let you know is that MySQL use two types of index, the B-tree and the hash. Because what we are using is InnoDB, definitely it will choose the B-tree because B-tree is the default for InnoDB because the engine we are using, as you can see here, is what? InnoDB. Hope this is understood. How to verify, how to check the index that are in a table. Thank you for viewing. So now let's confirm the power of index. Okay? Confirming what? The power of index. What are we going to do now? To make it simple, we're going to create a test database. Okay? Then we're going to use the database. I want us to create orders table in this place. But what I've done, except the primary key, I've gone ahead to remove any other key. So customer ID, order ID, employee ID, you are aware that they all had keys. I removed all the keys. Only the primary key that is here. Let's go ahead now and run this. Everything okay. So now we're going to insert everything we had before, other orders ID. So let's go ahead now to insert all this information. So I run again. Everything is going on well. Good. What I want us to do now is we're going to select, let me show you what we do. We're going to select the order ID. We select the ship via. We select the ship name from orders where the customer ID is equals to service. So if we run this, we have this theory info. But how do we confirm that before MySQL fetch out this information if there was not a lot of searching? How can we confirm that? If you want to confirm that, simply put explain. See, it went through 272 rows before it was able to give us. Let me just copy this again. Let me run only this now. 1, 2, 3, just this theory info. Before it was able to give us this theory info, this guy, that is MySQL, went through how many rows? Went through 272 rows just for 3 rows. That was painful. So what are we going to do now? What we are going to do on this customer ID, we're going to apply index on it. Let's see if that will help MySQL to reduce the labor to reduce the pain. I will simply come here, drop this. Already know this. Let's run this. Okay. So what we are going to do now, let's go back again to run this. After we apply the index, we run this. Same 3 rows. But let's use explain, because if you want to get the details of what is going on here, we have to use explain before the select statement. If I run this now, how many rows? Just 3 rows. It went straight to the 3 rows. You understand what is going on? The number of rows that were fetched for us, just 3. Without index, you can see 270 something rows. My SQL was going through row by row, row by row, row by row. Now, let's even see how many rows in this table. S from orders. Let's just see the total number of rows that are even here. The total number of rows is 272. You can see here, 272. It means that without index, my SQL went through all the rows looking for what? This information. But once we apply index, everything was arranged with the help of B3. My SQL went straight to the rows without having to search here and there for them, because we applied what? Index on that particular columns which we are interested in. This is the power of index. Hope this is understood. Thank you for viewing. What do you do if you want to delete an index from a column? If you want to delete an index from a column, simply say alter table. What is the name of the table? The name of the table is orders. What do you want to drop? I want to drop, let me separate this. I want to drop index. What is the name of the index? Cost index. Then we put this. If I run this, see, it's gone. So if I come back again and to confirm if this index exists, let's see the indices in our table. Show index from orders. If I run this, see, only the primary key. That's what the primary column that has what it applied. But if I go back again here to apply it, let me go back before I delete. Let me go back to apply it. If I come to this place again, reapply it. Okay, accepted. Let me show it again now. If I run this, you see there are 2 now. This cost index and this. But once you drop it, if you check again now, you see it's only this one that is there, because this comes by default as I've explained. Hope this is understood. Thank you for viewing.